The message appeared on every screen at the exact same second. Phones, billboards, cockpit displays, emergency broadcasts. Even the monitors inside children's hospitals went black before the signal took over. For 3 terrifying seconds, the entire world stood still. Then the alien spoke. People of Earth, you have 72 hours to surrender. No emotion, no anger, just certainty. Above the Atlantic Ocean, the first warship emerged from the clouds like a moving continent. Thousands more followed behind it, blotting out the stars one by one. Humanity had always wondered if we were alone. Now everyone wished we were. Governments collapsed into emergency sessions overnight. Fighter jets vanished trying to approach the fleet. Entire military networks were jammed before the first command could even be issued. And somehow, that wasn't the part that scared people most. The fear came from what the aliens didn't do. They didn't attack. They simply waited. As if surrender was inevitable. As if humanity had already lost. But buried beneath the chaos, strange things started happening. A classified bunker in Alaska suddenly went active after 40 years of silence. Decommissioned warships were pulled from scrapyards under armed guard. And somewhere beneath the Nevada desert, a man nobody had seen in nearly a decade finally opened his eyes. General Marcus Vale. The last commander to ever win a war Earth should have lost. By the second night of the countdown, riots consumed half the planet. World leaders prepared surrender terms. News anchors openly cried on live television. Then a young officer entered Vale's underground command room and whispered 3 words. They're in position. Vale looked up slowly at the invasion fleet hovering over Earth. And for the first time since the aliens arrived, he smiled. By the 3rd day, Earth no longer looked like a planet. It looked like a hostage. Alien warships hung over every major continent, silent and motionless, casting shadows large enough to swallow entire cities. At night, people could see them glowing above the clouds like artificial moons. Nobody slept anymore. The Vadran Dominion had done this before. That was the part the world couldn't stop talking about. Archived transmissions from destroyed civilizations began leaking online. Alien historians. Burned worlds. Species erased so completely that only fragments of their languages survived in drifting signals. One message spread across Earth faster than any government warning. The Dominion does not fight wars. They end them. And according to intercepted records, no species had ever survived refusing surrender. Panic became routine. Stock markets vanished overnight. Borders collapsed. Entire highways froze with abandoned cars as millions tried escaping cities that had nowhere left to run. But while civilians spiraled into fear, military analysts noticed something strange. The aliens weren't behaving like conquerors preparing for battle. They were behaving like exterminators preparing containment. No random destruction. No mass bombings. No reckless aggression. Every movement was calculated. Precise. Cold. As if humanity had already been measured and categorized long before the fleet arrived. Then came the first real sign that something was wrong. An alien scouting vessel disappeared over northern Canada. No distress call. No debris. Just gone. The Dominion publicly dismissed it as a navigational malfunction. But intercepted military chatter told a different story. Recovery teams sent to investigate never returned either. And suddenly, alien patrol routes started avoiding entire regions of Earth. Especially the Arctic. Especially the oceans. Especially old military zones that should have been abandoned decades ago. That's when whispers began spreading through human command circles. Not fear. Hope. Because hidden beneath the chaos of the invasion was a truth only a handful of people knew. Earth had been preparing for this moment for years. Long before the first alien ship appeared. Deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain, General Marcus Vale stood in front of a massive holographic display as red warning symbols pulsed across the globe. The room around him remained calm. No shouting. No panic. Just soldiers waiting. Vale studied the alien fleet in silence while intelligence officers delivered reports from around the world. Tokyo orbital lane stabilized. Atlantic defense grid online. Subterranean silos responding. Every sentence sounded less like emergency preparation, and more like a checklist. A young lieutenant finally broke the silence. "Sir, if the Dominion scans the lower Pacific sectors, they'll find the carrier platforms." Vale didn't even look up. "They won't," he said quietly. The lieutenant frowned. "How can you know that?" Vale zoomed the hologram toward the alien flagship hovering above Europe. Then he pointed toward its tactical formation. "Because they still think like predators." The room went silent. And for the first time, some of the younger officers realized something terrifying. Humanity wasn't reacting to the invasion. Humanity was studying it. Elsewhere across the planet, civilians continued watching surrender debates on live television while hidden military convoys disappeared into mountains and deserts under blackout conditions. Retired soldiers were recalled without explanation. Entire naval graveyards were emptied overnight. Even more disturbing, thousands of volunteers began arriving at recruitment centers despite knowing Earth was probably doomed. A reporter in Chicago asked one exhausted Marine why he was re-enlisting. The man looked straight into the camera and answered, "Because if this is humanity's last stand, they picked the wrong species." The clip spread worldwide within hours. And the aliens saw it too. Inside the Dominion flagship, Supreme Commander Kayla reviewed psychological assessments of humanity with growing frustration. The data made no sense. Humans were supposed to collapse under extinction pressure. Every other species had. Fear usually destroyed social order within days. But Earth's resistance was increasing, not decreasing. Civilian morale should have shattered after the surrender ultimatum. Instead, underground communication networks exploded with activity. Factory output tripled. Encrypted signals flooded the atmosphere. And Dominion scouts kept vanishing near human territory. Kayla demanded answers. What are they hiding? Nobody in the chamber could answer him. Then another report arrived. Recovered footage from a destroyed scout unit. The recording was damaged, distorted, covered in static. But one detail froze the entire command deck. The humans in the footage kept fighting after sustaining injuries that should have killed them. Broken limbs. Heavy blood loss. One soldier even continued attacking after losing his visor and oxygen line. The final frame showed the scout officer staring directly into the human's helmet camera before transmission ended. And the last thing he said was, "Why are they smiling?" Back on Earth, the surrender clock dropped below 24 hours. World leaders prepared the official response. News stations began broadcasting farewell messages. Families gathered together believing the end had already arrived. But hidden beneath the Nevada desert, General Vale finally received confirmation from every defense sector across the planet. Humanity was ready. He slowly stood from his command chair as alarms echoed through the bunker. Then he gave the order the Dominion never expected to hear. Let them come closer. The Dominion made one fatal mistake. They thought humanity was civilized. That assumption had destroyed worlds before. Species across the galaxy survived by eliminating violence, fear, and conflict from their societies. The Dominion had spent centuries conquering races that feared pain more than defeat. But Earth was different. Earth was born violent. Hurricanes swallowed coastlines. Earthquakes buried cities. Diseases wiped out millions before medicine learned how to fight back. Even the planet itself seemed determined to kill anything weak enough to stand still. And somehow, humans survived all of it. Inside the Dominion flagship, analysts continued dissecting human biology with growing confusion. High aggression response. Extreme environmental adaptability. Abnormal pain tolerance. Every new report sounded less like a civilian species, and more like a weapon that evolved naturally. Supreme Commander Kayla stood before a massive holographic projection of Earth while military advisors argued around him. One scientist enlarged images of human combat zones from the last 2 centuries. Wars. Revolutions. Cities burning under black smoke. Kayla narrowed his eyes. They nearly destroyed themselves repeatedly, he muttered. The scientist answered carefully. Yes, Commander. But they survived every time. That was the part beginning to terrify the Dominion. Humanity did not break the way other species broke. Pressure changed them. It hardened them. Meanwhile, deep beneath the Nevada desert, General Marcus Vale walked through corridors packed with soldiers preparing for war. Nobody spoke much. Weapons were cleaned in silence. Helmets locked into place. Old unit patches appeared on armor that hadn't seen combat in years. Then Vale entered a sealed briefing chamber. Inside waited commanders from every surviving defense sector on Earth. Arctic divisions, submarine fleets, orbital sabotage teams. And sitting in the center of the room was something the Dominion believed humanity no longer possessed. A paper map. The old-fashioned kind. Vale spread both hands against the table and looked at every officer in the room. "They think we're defending cities," he said. A few tired smiles appeared. Because everyone there understood the truth. Humanity had no intention of fighting a defensive war. The surrender countdown had only been buying time. For 72 hours, Earth had been transforming itself into a trap. Hidden missile silos rose from beneath glacier in Greenland. Stealth submarines positioned themselves directly beneath Dominion carriers floating over the Pacific. Thousands of civilian satellites suddenly changed orbit patterns at the exact same moment. And still, the aliens noticed none of it. Because the Dominion relied on certainty. Humans relied on unpredictability. That difference was about to change the war. Elsewhere across Earth, ordinary people prepared in their own ways. A father taught his daughter how to use an emergency radio inside a basement shelter. A group of construction workers in Texas welded armor plating onto transport trucks while country music blasted through broken speakers. In Chicago, volunteers formed lines outside blood donation centers knowing most of them might never survive long enough to use it. The Dominion monitored all of it. And they misunderstood every second. Alien psychology experts believed humanity was engaging in ritualized denial before extinction. What they failed to understand was simple. Humans become most dangerous when cornered. Then came the moment that shattered Dominion confidence completely. At 3:14 Greenwich time, an alien destroyer vanished above the Pacific. Not damaged. Not disabled. Gone. Panic spread instantly through Dominion command networks. Search drones scanned thousands of miles of ocean without finding wreckage. Long-range sensors showed no weapon signatures. No explosions. No warning signs. It was as if the ship had been swallowed whole. Kayla demanded immediate answers. Instead, another report arrived. Then another. More scouts disappearing. More patrols failing to return. And always near human territory. For the first time since entering Earth's orbit, the Dominion fleet repositioned itself defensively. Fear was spreading. Not among humans. Among the invaders. Back underground, alarms echoed across Vale's command center as intelligence officers tracked shifting alien formations above the planet. One young communications officer stared at the screen in disbelief. "Sir, they're pulling back." Vale remained calm. "Good." The officer looked confused. "Good." Vale stepped toward the holographic projection of Earth. "They finally realized we're not prey." Then he activated a classified combat archive hidden from the public for decades. The room filled with footage from humanity's darkest wars. Trenches. Urban battles. Outnumbered soldiers refusing surrender. Entire cities fighting after total collapse. One by one, the officers watched generations of human survival instinct unfold across the screen. Because this wasn't just military history. This was the reason humanity still existed. Vale turned toward his commanders. "The Dominion thinks fear ends wars," he said quietly. Then his expression hardened. "Humans fight hardest after fear dies." At that exact moment, the global surrender clock dropped below 6 hours remaining. Across Earth, billions waited for the end. But hidden beneath oceans, mountains, deserts, and frozen wastelands, humanity was finally ready to show the galaxy what kind of species evolved on a death world. The countdown reached 0, and Earth went silent. No surrender broadcast. No diplomatic response. No white flags rising beneath the Dominion fleet. For one long moment, the entire planet held its breath. Then General Marcus Vale stepped onto the ruined platform outside London's shattered Parliament building and looked directly at the warships hanging above the clouds. Rain hammered against his armor. Fires burned across the skyline behind him. And millions around the world watched the live transmission as the alien flagship descended lower through the storm. Supreme Commander Kayla appeared on every screen moments later. Towering. Armored. Certain of victory. Humanity has chosen extinction, he announced coldly. Vale stared at him without blinking. Then he spoke the sentence that changed the war forever. No, he said quietly. You just chose ours. At that exact second, the sky exploded. Across the Atlantic Ocean, enormous waves erupted upward as hidden human carrier platforms surfaced from beneath the waterline. Massive rail cannons unfolded toward orbit like steel predators waking from hibernation. The first shot punched straight through a Dominion destroyer. Not damaged. Destroyed. The alien vessel split apart in total silence before erupting into blue fire across the upper atmosphere. For 3 stunned seconds, the Dominion fleet did nothing. Because nothing like this had ever happened before. Then Earth attacked everywhere at once. Missile silos erupted from mountains across Alaska and Siberia. Thousands of satellites suddenly altered orbit patterns before crashing directly into Dominion shield arrays at hypersonic speeds. Stealth bombers emerged from electromagnetic storm clouds the aliens believed impossible to navigate. Human pilots flew straight into enemy formations without hesitation. Not reckless. Calculated. Every sacrifice had already been accounted for. Inside the Dominion flagship, panic spread across command stations as alarms screamed through the bridge. Orbital shields collapsing. Multiple carriers lost. Human vessels inside perimeter range. Kayla slammed both hands against the tactical display as entire sections of his fleet vanished from the hologram. How did they hide this? Nobody answered. Because the terrifying truth was finally becoming clear. Humanity hadn't been surviving the invasion. Humanity had been preparing an ambush. Then things became even worse. Far beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dominion sensors suddenly detected movement directly below the flagship itself. Too late. 3 human submarines erupted from the darkness beneath the carrier formation and launched kinetic strike missiles at point-blank range. The shockwave crippled the flagship's lower shield systems instantly. And that was the moment Vale had been waiting for. Hidden aboard drifting debris fields around Earth's orbit, hundreds of human infiltration soldiers activated their thrusters simultaneously. The Dominion never saw them coming. Using destroyed wreckage as cover, the teams breached the flagship hull within minutes. Close-quarters combat erupted across alien corridors. Gunfire flashed through decompressed hallways. Emergency sirens echoed through the ship as human soldiers pushed deeper toward the command core. And no matter how many defenders the Dominion deployed, the humans kept advancing. A wounded alien officer watched one human marine continue fighting after taking direct plasma burns across his chest armor. The marine could barely stand. But he still moved forward. Still firing. Still smiling. The officer backed away in horror. What are these creatures? Back on Earth, civilians watched the battle unfolding across the sky in disbelief. Burning alien warships crashed through clouds like meteors. For the first time since the invasion began, the Dominion looked afraid. Then came the moment that shattered them completely. General Vale opened a direct transmission to every alien ship remaining in orbit. His voice cut through the battlefield calmly. You came here believing humanity feared extinction. Another Dominion cruiser exploded behind him on screen. Vale didn't even look back. But fear is what made us survive. Inside the flagship, Kayla finally understood the scale of the disaster. Every Dominion battle doctrine depended on psychological superiority. Overwhelming force. Absolute terror. Instant surrender. But humans reacted differently. Pressure didn't weaken them. It united them. And now the Dominion fleet was trapped inside the most dangerous battlefield in the galaxy. A desperate Earth. Kayla immediately ordered retreat. The command stunned his officers into silence. The Dominion had not retreated from a species in over 4,000 years. But before escape coordinates could finish uploading, Explosions tore through the flagship's central reactor chambers. Human sabotage teams. The bridge lights flickered violently. Smoke filled the command deck. And through the chaos, Kayla saw something impossible on the tactical screen. The human fleet was advancing. Not defending. Advancing. Even after everything Earth had already lost. The Dominion line finally broke. Warships turned away from Earth in full retreat as human fighters chased them through burning debris fields across orbit. For the first time in recorded galactic history, the conquerors were running. And standing beneath the storm outside London, General Marcus Vale watched the alien fleet flee into deep space while ash drifted through the rain around him. The battle was over. Earth had survived. But as emergency crews celebrated across the planet, Vale kept staring upward at the stars with an expression nobody around him understood. Because hidden within the wreckage of the Dominion flagship, humanity had discovered something far worse than an invasion fleet. The fires on Earth burned for 12 straight days. Alien wreckage rained across oceans. Cities buried under shadows for 72 hours finally saw sunlight again. Around the world, people walked out of shelters slowly, like survivors waking from the same nightmare. Humanity was still alive. And across the galaxy, that terrified everyone. Dominion warships limped back through deep space carrying stories no empire had ever heard before. Entire fleets destroyed by a species the galaxy considered primitive. Boarding crews wiped out by soldiers who refused to stop fighting. Civilians who kept rebuilding even while their skies burned. The rumors spread faster than official reports. Earth fought back. Humans don't surrender. Do not invade the death world. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion stopped expanding. But on Earth, victory didn't feel glorious. It felt expensive. Entire coastlines were gone. Millions were dead. Black smoke still drifted above shattered capitals while exhausted rescue crews searched through ruins for survivors. And every night, people looked nervously toward the stars wondering if the aliens would return. Because deep down, humanity knew this war had changed something bigger than Earth. Inside a secured underground facility beneath Geneva, military leaders gathered around the wreckage recovered from the Dominion flagship. Most of it was destroyed beyond recognition. Except for one object. A star map. General Marcus Vale stood silently beside the holographic projection as scientists decoded symbols rotating across the chamber walls. The room felt colder with every translation. One researcher finally swallowed hard before speaking. "Sir, this wasn't an invasion route." Vale looked up slowly. The scientist activated another layer of the map. Thousands of markers appeared beyond Dominion territory. Dead worlds. Destroyed fleets. Entire systems marked with warning symbols even the Dominion feared. Then the final translation appeared. Containment zone. Nobody in the room spoke. Because suddenly the invasion made horrifying sense. The Dominion had not come to conquer humanity first. They came to force humanity into submission before something else discovered Earth existed. A young officer broke the silence carefully. What exactly were they afraid of? No one answered immediately. Then the chamber doors opened. An intelligence analyst rushed inside carrying fresh transmission data intercepted from the edge of the solar system. His face had gone pale. "We just picked up a deep space signal," he said. The room froze. Origin. The analyst hesitated. Unknown. The transmission audio crackled through the speakers seconds later. Strange metallic pulses echoed across the chamber followed by distorted alien voices speaking in a language even Dominion databases couldn't fully translate. But one phrase repeated clearly enough. Humanity detected. Then the signal ended. Silence swallowed the room. And for the first time since the battle ended, General Vale looked genuinely unsettled. Elsewhere across Earth, life slowly began rebuilding. Children painted murals of burning alien ships on broken concrete walls. Factories that once built civilian machinery now produced orbital defenses 24 hours a day. Former rival nations shared military resources openly for the first time in history. The invasion had nearly destroyed humanity. Instead, it united them. Months later, Dominion refugees began arriving secretly at the edges of human-controlled space. Not soldiers. Families. Civilians fleeing territories abandoned during the retreat. And every single one of them carried the same warning. They are coming. Nobody ever explained who they were. But fear followed those words everywhere, even among hardened Dominion veterans. One night, General Vale stood alone on a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean where fragments of alien wreckage still floated beneath crashing waves. The wind carried ash and salt through the darkness as orbital defense stations moved silently across the stars overhead. A young officer approached carefully behind him. "Sir," she asked quietly, "do you think they'll attack again?" Vale stared upward for a long moment before answering. "When predators smell weakness, always." The officer looked toward the stars uneasily. "Then why does it feel like we just started something worse?" Vale finally turned toward her. Because hidden beneath the exhaustion and scars, there was still that smile. The same terrifying smile the Dominion learned to fear. "Because," he said calmly, for the first time in galactic history. He looked back toward the endless darkness beyond Earth. "Humanity finally knows it isn't trapped in here with monsters." His eyes narrowed. "The monsters are trapped in here with us." Far beyond the solar system, something ancient moved silently through deep space after receiving the final battle recordings from Earth. A colossal shadow drifted past dead planets and shattered fleets older than human civilization itself. Then thousands of cold mechanical eyes slowly opened in the darkness, locked onto Earth. And somewhere aboard that ancient nightmare, a voice echoed through the void. "The Death World has awakened." Fade to black. But the next war won't begin with a surrender countdown. It'll begin with a hunt.